So, here's a question for you. Can a system that costs just a single dollar really fix one of the biggest headaches for anyone trying to start a business online? That's the big question we're digging into today. You know, it's that kind of promise that just sounds way too good to be true, doesn't it? It definitely gets your attention, but it also makes you, a little skeptical. So, let's get to the bottom of it. And look, we're not just throwing opinions around here. We're actually breaking down the findings from a detailed 2-month investigation by an affiliate marketing expert to see what they really found. So let's start with that big promise. And yeah, it all boils down to this number, one single dollar. We're not talking about monthly fees or some huge upfront investment. This is what makes the whole thing so interesting, and for a lot of people, pretty suspicious. Okay, so before we can even talk about the solution, we've got to understand the problem it's supposed to fix. And according to this expert review, it's a huge one, a massive roadblock that just stops most beginners cold. And wow, this really shows you the scale of that problem. On a big platform for digital products called WarriorPlus, about 90% of applications from new affiliates get rejected. Just think about that. It's like trying to start a career where 9 out of 10 of your job applications get tossed in the trash before you even get a chance. That's the massive hurdle we're talking about. So the big question is, how does this $1 system actually claim to get you past that gatekeeper? Well, the answer is supposedly in its main feature. Well, the secret sauce, according to the review, is something they call vendor codes. Now, this isn't just some generic advice. The reviewer confirmed it's a direct list of contact info for product creators, and it's paired with message templates that are proven to get a yes from vendors who are actually looking to work with new people. And check this out. The numbers from that 60-day test are pretty dramatic. The expert reviewer, who started out with maybe a 20% approval rate, saw that number just shoot up to 94% using the system's codes and templates. It pretty much flipped the script from rejection to acceptance. The review also shared testimonials that basically say the same thing. This user, Marcus, went from getting a dozen rejections to landing 3 approvals in just 2 days. So it's pretty clear it solves that first big problem. But, getting approved is really only the first step, right? It's just half the battle. Exactly. I mean, getting an approval is great, but it doesn't mean a thing if you can't get actual people to see your offer. So the next big part of the review was looking at how the system teaches you to get traffic without spending any cash. So the training really zeroes in on these 5 main strategies. So what makes them so good for beginners? Well, the reviewer points out that they don't require you to build a website, you don't have to grow an email list, and you don't spend a dime on ads. The whole idea is to get you earning with literally 0 extra cost. And this timeline from the review gives you a really honest look at the journey. This is not an instant riches story. You can see the first couple of weeks were all about getting those approvals. The first actual money, just about $48, didn't come in until the second month. But by the end of the test, it grew into a steady $35 to $50 a week. And this is super important. The expert who did the review, Olivia Smith, makes it crystal clear this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. The system opens the door for you, but the money you make is going to depend completely on how much effort you put into using those free traffic strategies. All right, so after 2 full months of testing, getting approved, driving traffic, making some cash, what's the final word? Let's get into how the reviewer summed it all up. Okay, this chart really puts it all into perspective. Instead of just listing features, let's look at the 2 things that really change the game here. First, that guaranteed approval system using the vendor codes, and second, that crazy 365-day money-back guarantee. I mean, a whole year. Those are the 2 things that really set it apart from pricey courses or just randomly searching for tutorials on YouTube. They tackle the biggest fears for any beginner, getting rejected and losing your money. All right, let's just boil it all down. The good versus the bad. What's the catch? The wins are pretty clear. That unbeatable $1 price, the fact that you get real vendor codes, the focus on true beginners, and of course, that incredible guarantee. So what's the catch? Well, it's not a magic wand. The AI tools are pretty basic, it's definitely not for advanced marketers, and you'll have to keep an eye on the vendor list as it gets updated. So when you factor everything in, the problem it solves, the test results, the crazy low price, and yeah, its downsides, the expert reviewer landed on a final score 8.8 out of 10. And really, the bottom line from the whole report was this. If you're someone who is just sick and tired of getting rejected and feels like you can't even get started, then this system is absolutely worth your dollar. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought from this whole breakdown. When the price tag is just a single dollar and it's backed up by a full year guarantee, the reviewer asks a pretty interesting question. Is the biggest risk just not trying it at all?